Welcome back to Graceful Art Designs. This is another one of those paintings in the series of New Jerusalem. Before, I think, it could be lost track. It's been a while. So, in two of the previous paintings I did this background colour of little shapes, wonderful colours. I did the colours in acrylic, and I painted because I painted on with acrylic iridescent. Part, but I might just leave it for a bit and just put it on the grass. In fact, that's what I think I'm going to do, because I can always come back and do that later. So I've got some nice phthalo green I'm mixing with white. I'm still using this angled brush just because it's easier to get into these angles with an angled brush than with a straight brush. So I'll put the paint on around the white, and if it smudges the white, that's okay. I'll come back to that later on. In fact, it might be a good thing because it'll make the lines a bit more refined. They're a bit thick at the moment, I think. So just need some more oil, and that's what I'll do. And might be a bit light. Like it is. Yeah, I definitely want this to look like grass. I mean, the paint is quite dry, but it seems to be mixing with this. Maybe because there's too much oil on the brush. One has to be so careful. And I guess I would be paying more attention to these things if I wasn't filming. But I'm holding the camera in one hand again. So I'm trying to make the most of my opportunity for painting, because my daytime opportunities seem to be diminishing. So I'll bring you back when I've covered the canvas. The phthalo green certainly has an interesting effect. I stopped adding white to it and just added the green, and because it's a translucent paint, it actually allows some of the colours underneath to show through. And so you've got a lightish side and darker down here where there's darker colours. But I like the colours in the house. I think that looks quite pretty. And I'm going to leave them just like that. And when it's dry, I will re-outline the houses in white tomorrow, and then decide what to do with the background. Do I add trees, flowers? What am I going to do? The paint has dried quite nicely. I really like the way it allows the colours underneath to shine through. But I need to add some more green just to show that it is, that the houses are going uphill. And so that will be like a pathway going uphill. And then I might add stones into the pathway. And then I'm going to add some trees as well. So again, this one will be a pathway coming from here. I actually thought maybe I should outline the houses in green rather than white. Maybe that will look nice. I'm afraid to do it because if it doesn't look the way I want it, then it'll be a lot of work to undo it. But I already have houses outlined in white. I don't like to keep doing the same thing when there's so many possibilities, so many options. Anyway, I'll first do the pathways, add on the trees and the foliage, and then decide. Well, I suppose. And so here I could have a palm tree going. There's a lot of space here. And I'm not really going to put too much detail in, but just enough that your eye can recognize it as a palm tree. And so I will make the tree trunk a sort of a browny hue. And I'll bring you back when I've done some more. I got a bit carried away and I forgot to film, so I've done quite a bit. I've outlined the paths, that's what you saw me do, and then I filled them in with a mixture of raw umber and burnt sienna, and I'm going to go around the rocks later with white when that's dried, just to give an outline, or maybe with some sap green. I've now painted in the palm tree. I still need to do a path connecting this path to that house, and this path to this house, and maybe this path to this path. And so now I also added back some green where I saw it had got some white splotches on it, and I might go over the other colours like here to show that purple or the orange that's under there. And this is the centre of the roof. This is, they have rooftop balconies. So these are just the supports around the side. And also I need to add back the colour to make some of these doors and windows a bit more refined. They just got a bit too thick. So it's difficult when you're just using one little brush and it starts to give in halfway, as this one is doing. Some lines come out thick, some come out thin. Not always the way you want them. So I'm just making little delicate bunches of what might be flowers. I'll add on the colour afterwards. And although I like the background, I'm just wondering if it really is suitable as a background to just leave it like that, or if I should make it a softer green, because it's a bit I don't know, in a way it kind of reflects all the colours that we will see maybe in heaven, or in the New Jerusalem. That will be very colourful, very beautiful, sort of colours that we can't imagine. So it doesn't have to be in line or in step with our earthly visions of perfection. And obviously, being a mere mortal, it's sometimes very hard to reconcile the two. And at the same time, I know that we can't know the mind of God. We can't not know the extent of his creativity. It is just amazing, even just to think about what we have on this earth and the way we all have creative potential within us. That I look at my cats and their fur is so amazing. Their faces are so amazing. My tabby over there, she's grey and all different shades of grey and black. She's also got kind of a creamy ginger on her tummy, but on her top and on her back she's got stripes. And in layers, and so perfect. And then around her eyes she's got these markings like mascara. And then on her tummy she's got cream with a little hint of ginger, and then black spots, and the hairs grow out in exactly the right amount to make a spot. So stripes on top, spots on the bottom, like a lynx, I think. And the ginger cat is the same, but in ginger. And a whole lot of different shades of ginger and cream and stripes on top. And she hasn't got that many spots on her stomach. She does have a few, but she mainly seems to be very creamy underneath. Creamy and light ginger. But both tabbies, both very sweet, different personalities. Ginger girl cannot get enough affection. She just cannot get loved and stroked and held enough. But she does not like to be carried around. She will not let me pick her up. She just panics and jumps because she's been in the street for too long. I've only had her since I found her injured, and then had her operated on. So I've only had her for a year. I mean, I've known of her existence for much longer than that, ever since I was here, but only since then that I've had her. So she's not used to really being handled by humans. And whereas my other cat I found when she was a baby, 4 weeks old, in the street, and she was very much a lap cat when she was a baby, but she's outgrown that now. Now she very much likes to sit or sleep on her own, but she will allow me to carry her around. That's the funny thing. She'll allow me to carry her around. She'll jump on my shoulders, wrap herself around my neck. She'll lie on the bed next to me, but not right in my arms unless she's very cold. But she'll curl up behind my legs, or on my legs, on my feet, and I can't let her do that at the moment because I have an injury that is not healing, and she can't understand that. So I think that upsets her a bit. But each so sweet and each so perfect. The difference doing another outline of white around the houses makes. This one I haven't done, and it looks awful. So that's what happens when you have an underpainting that is all colourful. And that's why I like to paint my roses on, especially my roses, but even other things, on a white background, because that's the only way you get your colours to be true and pure. The minute you add something underneath, it darkens everything, and so what you put on top is not as bright and as radiant as it would be if you just did the pure colour on the white. And you can't paint on a white canvas. It's not nice. It's got to have an undercoating, so that's why I do my undercoating white. And I've done one painting where I've painted a field of flowers, like an English country garden, and I painted the background. The lower half was green and the top was blue, and then I sketched on the flowers in gold. That background was all done in acrylic. And it took me so many layers to make those flowers look radiant, and in the end they still didn't look as perfect as I would have liked them to. So I'm going to do that same painting again with a white background, and you'll see the difference. And the same colors of the flowers, I mean, they might not be in exactly the same position,